For 11 years, billionaire Marcus Vail believed his mother was safe, comfortable, and cared for while he built his empire in America. He trusted the reports, the bank transfers, and the sweet promises of his elegant wife, Vanessa, who swore she treated the old woman like a queen. He never imagined that while he slept in mansions overseas, his mother was losing her mind alone in an abandoned house, dressed in torn clothes, whispering to shadows, and waiting for a son who never came. But Marcus did not know one poor maid had been secretly keeping her alive. He did not know the young woman had been bringing food, medicine, and kindness every night, even after Vanessa threatened her. And he definitely did not know that his mad mother had been hiding one final secret powerful enough to destroy everything. When Marcus returned from America and found the truth, Vanessa tried to save herself by humiliating the maid in front of everyone, calling her filthy, worthless, and desperate. Then the old woman suddenly stood up. Her trembling voice silenced the room. Vanessa turned pale, Marcus froze, and when his mother revealed who truly owned the mansion, the fortune, and the family name, the cruel wife who had thrown everyone out was left homeless. The first thing Marcus noticed when his private jet touched down was the smell of rain. Not the clean, distant rain of Manhattan rooftops or the metallic drizzle that slid down the glass towers where he had spent the last decade conquering markets, buying companies, and shaking hands with men who pretended not to fear him. This rain smelled of red earth, old mango trees, and smoke from roadside kitchens. It was the rain of his childhood, the rain his mother used to welcome by opening every window in the house. "Water is heaven remembering us," Evelyn Vail would say, smiling as if the sky itself were an old friend. Marcus stood at the top of the jet stairs, expensive coat lifted slightly by the wind, and for one strange moment, he was no longer the man whose face appeared on magazine covers. He was a boy again, barefoot on the veranda, listening to his mother hum while she fried plantains in the kitchen. Then a flashbulb went off. "Mr. Vail, over here." The airport officials had tried to keep his arrival private, but wealth had a way of attracting eyes. 3 local reporters stood behind a barrier, shouting questions about his return, his new investment fund, and rumors that he planned to buy half the city's waterfront. Marcus gave them the polite smile he had perfected in boardrooms. His assistant, Gideon, moved beside him with a tablet clutched under one arm. "The car is ready, sir," Gideon said. "Mrs. Vail is waiting at the mansion." Marcus nodded, but his eyes lingered beyond the runway, toward the old hills beyond the city. Somewhere beyond those hills was the house where he had grown up. Somewhere beyond those hills was his mother. "How is she?" he asked. Gideon looked up. "Mrs. Vail." "My mother." A brief hesitation passed across Gideon's face. "According to the household office, Madam Evelyn is resting." Marcus frowned. "Resting where?" "At the family residence, I assume." "You assume?" Gideon's grip tightened on the tablet. "Sir, all updates came through Mrs. Vanessa. She said your mother preferred quiet and did not want calls." That answer should have unsettled Marcus. It almost did. But for 11 years, Vanessa had been the bridge between him and home. When he first moved to America to rescue the family business from collapse, his mother had told him to go. She had placed her hands on his cheeks and said, "Do not look back every day, my son. Build what your father could not finish. I will be here when you return." At first he called every evening. Then the time zones became difficult. Then investors demanded dinners. Then acquisitions came with lawsuits, bankers, debt, expansion, and exhaustion. His calls became weekly, then monthly. Later, Vanessa said Evelyn's health was fragile and that doctors advised calm. No stressful calls. No emotional conversations, no sudden visits. Marcus sent money instead. So much money. Every month a generous allowance for his mother's care, medical support, household repairs, staff salaries, security, a private nurse, a driver, special food. Anything Vanessa requested, Marcus approved. Why would he not? Vanessa was his wife. She was educated, polished, charming, and always so soft-spoken when speaking of Evelyn. "Your mother is comfortable, darling," Vanessa often told him over the phone. "She misses you, but she knows you're doing all this for the family." And Marcus had believed her. Now, as the convoy drove from the airport through streets crowded with rainwater and honking buses, Marcus watched his country slide past the tinted window and felt a pressure under his ribs. The city had changed. New billboards rose above old markets. Apartment towers stood where dusty football fields had once been. But some things remained: women balancing baskets on their heads, children chasing tires through puddles, old men sitting under awnings as if time had promised to wait for them. His phone rang. Vanessa's name glowed across the screen. He answered. "I've landed." "My love," Vanessa purred. "I can't believe you are finally home. I've prepared everything. The press will be there tomorrow evening for the welcome gala, and tonight we'll have a private dinner, just us. And my mother." There was a pause, so small most men would have missed it. "Of course," Vanessa said. "We can discuss that when you arrive." Marcus sat straighter. "Discuss what?" "She's been delicate lately. You know how she is. Too much excitement may upset her." "I want to see her tonight." "Marcus, please don't begin your first night home with tension." "My mother is not tension." "Of course not," Vanessa said quickly. "I only mean the doctors have recommended." "Which doctors?" Another pause. "The ones I hired. Darling, you have to trust me." The word trust landed heavily between them. For years, Marcus had trusted figures, contracts, signatures, and bank confirmations. He had trusted progress reports typed on fine letterhead. He had trusted pictures Vanessa sent him: a corner of his mother's bedroom, a tray of soup, a blurred image of Evelyn sitting near a window with her face turned away. Now he realized how little those pictures had shown. "I'll be home soon," he said, and ended the call. Gideon glanced at him. "Sir." "Call the household physician. I want my mother's full medical records on my desk before dinner." "Yes, sir." "And Gideon." "Yes, sir." "Do it quietly." By the time they reached the Vale mansion, the rain had stopped, leaving the marble driveway shining under the afternoon sun. The house stood on a hill above the city like a palace, pretending to be a home. Marcus had bought it 9 years ago at Vanessa's request. She had said the old family house was too outdated for their status and that Evelyn deserved a grander place. The gates opened. A line of servants stood beneath the entrance canopy, all in pressed uniforms. At the top of the steps stood Vanessa. She looked exactly as she did in video calls, maybe even more beautiful in person, tall, graceful, wrapped in a cream silk dress that made her seem carved from candlelight. Diamonds glittered at her throat. Her smile was perfect. "Marcus," she breathed, descending the steps. She embraced him before he could speak. Cameras from the household media team clicked discreetly from the side. Vanessa held him tightly, her perfume familiar and expensive. "Welcome home, my king," she whispered. Marcus did not return the words. Instead, he looked past her into the house. "Where is my mother?" Vanessa drew back slowly. Her smile remained, but her eyes hardened for the smallest second. "She is not here." The servants lowered their gazes. Marcus stared at her. "You told me she was at the family residence." "She is, just not this residence." "What does that mean?" Vanessa gave a soft laugh, as though he had embarrassed them both with a childish misunderstanding. "Darling, your mother never liked this mansion. She said it felt cold, so I arranged for her to stay somewhere quieter, somewhere familiar." "The old house." Vanessa looked away. "Something like that." "Take me there." "Now." "Yes, now." "But you've just arrived. You must be tired." "I said now." The servant stood motionless. Gideon watched with careful silence. Vanessa's expression changed again, so fast it could have been missed. Irritation, fear, then sweetness. "Fine," she said, "but prepare yourself. Evelyn is not the woman you remember." Marcus did not answer. 20 minutes later, the convoy left the mansion and headed toward the old district. The deeper they drove, the quieter Marcus became. He recognized the road that curved past the chapel where his parents had married. He recognized the stone bridge where his father used to buy roasted corn from a woman with gold teeth. He recognized the enormous baobab tree at the edge of the old Vale land. But the gate was wrong. The old iron gate, once painted green and polished every Friday by the gardener, hung crooked from one hinge. Vines strangled the bars. The brass plate that once read Vale House had gone black with neglect. Marcus stepped out before the driver could open the door. "What is this?" he asked. Vanessa remained in the car. "Marcus, listen to me." He walked to the gate and pushed. It groaned open. The driveway beyond was covered in weeds. The old family house stood at the end of the path, its white walls stained by years of rain, its windows broken in places, its roof sagging on one side. Marcus remembered laughter spilling from those windows. He remembered his mother's garden, bright with hibiscus and basil. Now the garden was a wild tangle of thorn and grass. No security. No nurse. No driver. No comfort. He turned slowly toward Vanessa. She finally stepped from the car, lifting her dress to avoid the mud. She refused the mansion, she said before he could speak. She became impossible. She shouted, broke things, accused me of stealing. I did what I could. Marcus's voice was low. "Where is she?" Vanessa gestured toward the back of the property. "There is a cottage behind the old house. She likes it there." "A cottage?" She would not stay inside the main house. Marcus began walking. "Marcus," Vanessa called, "don't go alone. She may not recognize you." He did not stop. Behind the house, past the dead garden and collapsed chicken coop, stood the caretaker's cottage. Its wooden door was patched with tin. One window was covered with cardboard. Smoke from a small cooking fire curled weakly beside the wall. Marcus reached the door and heard a voice inside. A woman's voice, thin and cracked, humming. His heart pounded. He pushed the door open. The room smelled of damp wood and old cloth. A single mattress lay in the corner. A chipped basin sat beside it. There were no proper lights, only sunlight leaking through holes in the wall. On the floor, wrapped in a faded shawl, sat Evelyn Vale. For a moment, Marcus could not move. His mother had once been the proudest woman he knew, not proud in the cruel way, but in the way of someone who had survived poverty, widowhood, and betrayal without bowing her head. She had worn simple dresses, but carried herself like royalty. Her hair, always braided neatly, had smelled of coconut oil. Her eyes had been sharp enough to catch every lie Marcus tried to tell as a boy. Now her hair was tangled with grey, her cheeks were hollow. Her clothes were torn at the sleeves. She held a wooden spoon like it was a treasure and tapped it gently against her palm. "Rain on the roof," she whispered. "Rain on the roof. My son will come when the mangoes fall." Marcus's throat closed. "Mother." Evelyn looked up. Her eyes passed over him without recognition. Then she smiled at the empty air beside him. "Have you brought the blue bowl?" she asked. Marcus dropped to his knees. "Mother, it's me. It's Marcus." She blinked. Her lips trembled as if some hidden part of her had heard him, but then she turned away. "Marcus is in the sky," she said. "He writes letters with gold ink. He cannot come down." Behind him, someone gasped. Marcus turned. A young woman stood at the door holding a covered bowl. She wore a faded maid's uniform too large for her small frame, and her shoes were cracked at the sides. Rainwater clung to the ends of her hair. Her eyes widened when she saw him. "Sir," she whispered. "Who are you?" Marcus asked. The young woman lowered her gaze. "My name is Layla." Vanessa appeared behind her. "A thief," she snapped. "That is who she is." Layla flinched. Marcus stood slowly. "Explain." Vanessa stepped into the doorway, her face twisted with anger now that the servants and cameras were gone. "I fired her months ago for stealing food from the mansion kitchen. Apparently she has been sneaking around like a rat." I was bringing food to Madame Evelyn, Leela said softly. Vanessa laughed coldly. Food, you mean scraps you stole? There was no food here, madam. You liar. Marcus looked at the covered bowl in Leela's hands. Open it. Leela hesitated, then lifted the cloth. Inside was rice, vegetables, and small pieces of fish. Evelyn turned at the smell. Blue bowl, she murmured. Leela quickly crossed the room, knelt beside her, and softened her voice. Yes, Mama Evelyn, I brought your supper. Mama Evelyn. The name struck Marcus like a bell. His mother accepted the bowl from Leela with both hands. She ate carefully, like someone used to hunger, but still trying to remember manners. Marcus watched, shame crawling over every part of him. How long? He asked. Leela froze. Vanessa answered first. Do not entertain this nonsense. Marcus did not look at her. Leela, how long have you been feeding my mother? Leela swallowed. 8 months, sir. 8 months. That is a lie, Vanessa said. Leela's voice trembled, but she continued. Before that, there was another maid, Auntie Rosa. She cared for Madame Evelyn, but she became sick and was dismissed. When I found Madame here, I thought someone would come. No one came. Marcus turned to Vanessa. She lifted her chin. Your mother chose to live like this. In this. She was unmanageable. So you left her in a broken cottage. She refused help. Where are the nurses I paid for? Vanessa's lips parted, then closed. Where is the doctor? She had consultations. Where are the records? I don't carry records in my purse, Marcus. His voice hardened. Where is the money? Vanessa stepped closer, lowering her voice. Careful, you are emotional. You have been home for less than an hour, and this maid is already poisoning you against your own wife. Leela lowered her head. Vanessa seized the opening. Look at her. She is poor, desperate, and dirty. Of course she will say anything for money. She has probably been filling your mother's head with stories, hoping you will reward her. Leela's eyes filled, but she did not speak. Marcus stared at his wife, as if seeing her for the first time. Vanessa turned on Leela. Get out. Leela clutched the empty cloth. Madame Evelyn has not finished eating. I said get out, Vanessa shouted. You filthy little maid. You think because you carried a bowl of rice you are family. You are nothing, a beggar in uniform, a parasite hanging around rich people's gates. The room went silent. Evelyn stopped eating. Her spoon lowered. Marcus saw it, a change, small but real. His mother's bent shoulders stiffened. Her cloudy eyes moved from Leela's bowed head to Vanessa's face. Vanessa continued, cruel words spilling faster now. You should be grateful I did not have you arrested. Who would believe you anyway? A servant, a nobody. You and this useless old woman can cry together in the mud for all I care. Enough, Marcus said. But another voice spoke before his. Do not call her nobody. It was faint, cracked, and trembling, but every person in the room heard it. Vanessa turned. Evelyn Vale placed the bowl on the floor and gripped the edge of the mattress. Her body shook with effort as she stood. Leela rushed to help her, but Evelyn lifted one hand. No, child, she whispered. Let me stand. Marcus forgot how to breathe. Mother. Evelyn looked at him. This time her eyes were clear. Not young, not healed, not untouched by suffering, but clear. My son, she said. Marcus stepped toward her, tears burning his eyes. You know me. I knew you from the moment you walked through the door. Her mouth trembled. A mother may lose many things, Marcus. She does not lose the shape of her child's soul. Vanessa backed toward the door. This is a performance. Evelyn's eyes sharpened. Yes, but not mine. The words changed the air. Marcus turned slowly. What does that mean? Evelyn reached under her shawl and drew out a small cloth pouch tied with string. Her hands shook as she held it to Leela. Give it to him. Leela took the pouch and offered it to Marcus. Inside were 3 items: an old brass key, a folded letter sealed in wax, and a flash drive wrapped in paper. Marcus stared at them. Evelyn nodded toward the letter. "Your father wrote that before he died." "My father." Vanessa gave a nervous laugh. "Marcus, your father has been dead for 20 years. Whatever that is, it's meaningless." Evelyn looked at her. "You should pray it was meaningless." Marcus opened the letter carefully. The paper was yellowed, but the handwriting was unmistakable. His father's handwriting, bold, slanted, impatient. "My beloved Evelyn, if you are reading this, then I have gone where debt collectors and false friends cannot follow. I have made mistakes. But I have not left you defenseless. Everything that bears the Vale name is protected through the family trust. You are the lifetime guardian. Marcus inherits only through your blessing and only after proving that he protects the household, not merely the wealth. Trust no one who separates son from mother." The original documents are with Adisa. The key opens the blue cabinet beneath the chapel floor. The second ledger will speak when the liars become loud. "Forgive me for the burdens I hid. Yours always, Thomas." Marcus read the letter twice. The old room seemed to tilt around him. "What trust?" he asked. Evelyn closed her eyes briefly. "Your father was not only a businessman, he was a frightened man. Before he died, he discovered that his partners were trying to strip the company. He moved the land, the mansion rights, and the founding shares into a trust under my guardianship. Not yours, not any wife's. Mine." Marcus looked at Vanessa. Her face had drained of color. Evelyn continued, "When you left for America, the trust remained quiet. I signed yearly approvals for your projects because I believed in you. Then Vanessa began bringing me papers." Vanessa snapped, "Because you were confused." "I was grieving, not foolish." "She signed everything willingly," Vanessa said to Marcus. "Your mother is unstable, you saw her yourself." Evelyn's gaze did not waver. "I signed household permissions, repairs, staff salaries, medical expenses. Then one day I saw a document giving Vanessa control over my personal authority." Marcus's hand closed around the letter. "Power of attorney." "She tried to trick me, I refused. That was when the doctors came." Leela whispered, "Not real doctors, sir." Vanessa pointed at her. "Silence." Marcus moved between them. "Let her speak." Leela's voice was small but steady. "Auntie Rosa told me Madame Evelyn was given medicine that made her sleepy and confused. When Madame asked too many questions, they said she was becoming difficult. Then Mrs. Vanessa moved her from the mansion to this place and told the staff Madame wanted privacy." "That's not true," Vanessa said. "All of you are conspiring." Evelyn looked at Marcus. "For months I did not know morning from evening. Sometimes I heard my own voice and did not recognize it. Sometimes I forgot your name for hours and hated myself when it returned. But there were days the fog lifted. Rosa helped me, then Leela." Marcus's chest ached. "Why didn't you contact me?" Evelyn's face twisted. "I tried." She pointed to the flash drive. "Messages, recordings, documents. Every time I sent a letter, it vanished. Every phone call was blocked. Vanessa told you I did not want to speak. She told me you were too busy and ashamed of me." Marcus turned to Vanessa, and for the first time since his arrival, she looked afraid of him. Not because he raised his hand. Marcus would never do that. Not because he shouted. He did not need to. She was afraid because silence had entered him, deep and cold. "Did you?" he asked. Vanessa's lips trembled. "I protected you." "From my mother." "From scandal," she burst out. "Do you know what it is like being married to a man the whole world watches? Do you know what people would say if they saw your mother wandering, muttering, accusing everyone of theft? I managed the image of this family while you played emperor in America. I sent money for her care. And I used money to build your name. You bought diamonds. I hosted ministers, investors, charity boards, you think reputation is free. Marcus stepped closer. You left my mother hungry. Vanessa looked away. That was answer enough. Then another car arrived outside. Everyone turned toward the sound. A black sedan stopped near the cottage. An elderly man stepped out, holding a leather briefcase above the mud. He wore a dark suit despite the heat, and his silver beard was trimmed with military precision. Marcus recognized him instantly. Mr. Adiso. The old lawyer looked at Marcus, then at Evelyn. His stern face softened. Madam Vale, he said, I came as soon as I received Leela's message. Vanessa whispered, no. Adisa entered the cottage slowly. He looked around, and anger flickered behind his glasses. So it is true. Evelyn lowered her head. I am sorry you had to see me like this. No, Adisa said firmly, those who did this should be sorry. Marcus turned to Leela. You contacted him. Leela nodded. Madam Evelyn remembered his name 3 weeks ago. She made me write it again and again so I would not forget. I searched old envelopes until I found his office address. Vanessa lunged toward the door. This ends now. Gideon, who had been standing outside, stepped in front of her. Madam, he said carefully, please remain. How dare you block me? Gideon did not move. Mr. Vale has not dismissed you. Marcus looked to Adisa. Tell me everything. Adisa opened his briefcase and removed a thick folder bound with blue ribbon. Your father's estate was never structured the way the public believed. The operating companies you expanded in America are yours in management, yes. But the original Vale holdings, the old lands, the mansion estate, the family foundation, and 41% of the parent company belong to the Vale Family Trust. Your mother is the lifetime protector. No sale, transfer, mortgage, or spousal claim is valid without her free and witnessed consent. Marcus felt as though years of certainty were cracking beneath his feet. And Vanessa. Adisa glanced at her. Mrs. Vanessa Vale has no ownership in the trust, none. Vanessa laughed sharply. That is absurd. I signed trust resolutions for years. You signed forged resolutions, Adisa said. The word struck the room. Forged. Vanessa's lips parted. You cannot prove that. Adisa removed another folder. Actually, I can. Madam Evelyn sent me samples of her signature before contact was cut off. Later, when suspicious documents began arriving, I had them examined quietly. I also have bank trails showing that funds marked for elder care were diverted into event companies, luxury vendors, and offshore accounts connected to you. Marcus stared at Vanessa. Offshore accounts. Vanessa's eyes flashed. You would have never noticed if this old woman had stayed quiet. Evelyn smiled sadly. There she is. For years, Vanessa's beauty had been a mask polished by wealth. Now, under pressure, the mask split, her mouth twisted, her voice lost its silk. You think I enjoyed begging your son for money? She spat at Evelyn. Smiling at you, listening to your village stories. You lived in that old house like a saint while everyone worshipped you, even Marcus. Always mama this, mama that. I was his wife. I was the one beside him. I deserved control. Marcus's face hardened. You deserved prison. Vanessa turned to him. And you deserved the truth. Please, you left. You chose America. You chose ambition. I only took what you abandoned. The words hit him because some part of them carried a blade of truth. Marcus had left. He had not checked. He had let money replace presence. He had accepted silence because silence was convenient. Evelyn seemed to read the pain in his face. Marcus. He could barely look at her. I failed you. Yes, she said. The honesty wounded him more than comfort would have. Then she reached for his hand. But you came back. He bowed his head over her fingers. They were cold, thin, and rough from neglect. These were the hands that had fed him, bathed him, prayed over him, and pushed him toward the world. He had placed billions in banks and left those hands empty. I am sorry, he whispered. Evelyn touched his cheek. Sorry must become action. It will. Adisa cleared his throat. There is more. Vanessa's eyes darted toward him. Marcus looked up. Maury. Adisa handed him another document. 2 years ago, Mrs. Vale attempted to have Madame Evelyn declared legally incompetent. The filing was rejected because the medical board questioned the evidence. A second attempt was being prepared. Marcus read the paper, his jaw tightening with every line. If successful, Adisa said, Vanessa intended to petition for guardianship through a private clinic director. Once she had that, she could control Madame Evelyn's trust approvals. Vanessa said nothing. Marcus looked at his wife, and suddenly every memory rearranged itself. The cancelled calls, the vague updates, the expensive wellness retreats Vanessa insisted his mother needed, the way she bristled whenever he mentioned visiting, the annual financial summaries she rushed him through while he was between flights. How much did you steal? He asked. Vanessa lifted her chin. Adisa answered, we are still calculating. Early figures suggest millions from care accounts and household allocations. Larger attempted transfers were blocked. Marcus almost laughed from disbelief. Millions. Vanessa's expression hardened again. Do you know how much it costs to stand beside a billionaire and not look small? Leela looked at her in quiet horror. Evelyn shook her head. My child, you made yourself small. That sentence broke something in Vanessa. She spun toward Evelyn. You old witch. Marcus moved instantly. Do not speak to her. Vanessa pointed at Leela. And you think he will save you because you played nurse. Men like Marcus do not marry maids. They pity them, pay them, and forget them. Leela's cheeks burned, but she met Vanessa's stare. I did not help Madame Evelyn for marriage. No, you helped her for money. I helped her because she was hungry. The simplicity of it silenced the room. Evelyn's eyes filled with tears. When the world forgot me, this child remembered I was human. Marcus turned to Leela. Why didn't you leave when Vanessa threatened you? Leela looked down at her hands. My mother worked here before she died. She used to say Madame Evelyn paid for my school books when we had nothing. I was little, but I remembered. When I saw her alone, I thought, maybe kindness should return home too. Marcus closed his eyes for a second. Kindness should return home. He had built towers, but this poor maid had built a bridge back to his mother with bowls of rice. Outside, more vehicles approached. Gideon looked through the doorway. Sir, he said, the household staff followed, and some security. Vanessa straightened. Good, tell them to remove these people from my property. Adisa looked at her almost gently. Mrs. Vale, you still do not understand. He removed a final paper from his briefcase. The mansion where you live is not your property. The city estate is not your property. The cars purchased through the family trust are not your property. Even the accounts you have been drawing from were never yours. Vanessa stared at him. Adisa continued, Madame Evelyn has instructed me to revoke all household authority granted to you under false pretenses. As of this moment, you no longer represent the Vale family trust, the Vale residence, or Madame Evelyn in any capacity. Vanessa gave a dry laugh. You think you can throw me out? Evelyn's voice was quiet. No, Vanessa, I already did. From the doorway, the senior housekeeper, Mrs. Toma, appeared with 2 security officers behind her. Her face was pale but firm. Madam Vanessa, she said, Mr. Gideon asked us to collect the household documents from your office. We found packed suitcases in the private dressing room. Vanessa turned sharply. You went into my room. Mrs. Toma swallowed. We also found Madame Evelyn's old jewelry box. Evelyn's breath caught. Marcus's face darkened. Bring it. One guard left and returned minutes later with a carved wooden box Marcus remembered from childhood. His father had given it to Evelyn on their 20th anniversary. It had always sat on her dressing table, smelling faintly of lavender and sandalwood. Evelyn opened it with shaking hands. Inside were a few pieces of jewelry, a gold locket, pearl earrings, a bracelet, but Evelyn searched beneath the velvet lining. Her fingers found a hidden compartment and pulled out a small photograph. She stared at it and began to cry. Marcus leaned closer. It was a picture of him at 7 years old, missing 2 front teeth, sitting between his parents. "I thought it was gone," Evelyn whispered. Vanessa rolled her eyes, sentiment over trinkets. "No," Marcus said, "evidence over arrogance." He turned to Gideon. "Lock down every account connected to Vanessa's discretionary access. Notify legal, finance, and security. No asset leaves any property without review." Gideon nodded. "Already started, sir." Vanessa's confidence faltered. "Marcus, think carefully. A public scandal hurts you. You hurt my mother. The board will panic. The board can read evidence. The press will destroy your image." Marcus looked at Evelyn, then at Layla, then at the ruined cottage. "Let them see exactly what my image protected." Vanessa stepped toward him, lowering her voice into the intimate tone she had once used to charm him. "My love, we can fix this privately. I made mistakes. I was lonely. You were gone so long, I had to make decisions." Marcus did not move. She touched his sleeve. "I am still your wife." He looked at her hand until she withdrew it. "My wife," he said, "left my mother in an abandoned house." Vanessa's eyes filled with tears, but they did not soften him. He had seen her tears before, used delicately, like pearls placed where they would catch light. "I have nowhere to go," she whispered. Evelyn looked at her for a long moment. There was no triumph in her expression, only exhaustion. "You had houses," Evelyn said. "You had money, you had trust. You had a family willing to love you. You traded all of it for control." Vanessa's mouth trembled. "Evelyn, please." The old woman's voice became firmer. "You will leave my home tonight." Vanessa turned to Marcus. "You would let her do this to me?" Marcus answered quietly, "You did it to yourself." The security officers did not drag her. They did not touch her. They simply stood aside as Mrs. Toma informed her that she could collect personal clothing only under supervision, while all jewelry, documents, and valuables purchased through trust funds remained for audit. Vanessa looked around the cottage, as if waiting for someone to rescue her. No one moved. Then she walked out into the mud, cream silk stained at the hem, diamonds glittering like accusations at her throat. For the first time since Marcus had known her, Vanessa looked small. Not poor. Not humbled. Small. The drive back to the mansion was silent. Marcus refused to leave his mother in the cottage even for one more hour. A doctor, not one connected to Vanessa, was called. Clean clothes were brought. Leela helped Evelyn change in privacy while Marcus stood outside under the mango tree, staring at the old house. The guilt came in waves. He remembered the last argument before he left for America. He had wanted Evelyn to come with him. She refused. "My roots are here," she said. "Roots can be replanted," he argued. "Not at my age. You'll be alone." "I was alone before you were born, Marcus. I survived it." He had laughed then, thinking she was being stubborn. He did not understand that survival was not the same as comfort. He did not understand that even strong mothers should not be left to prove strength forever. Adisa came to stand beside him. "You were deceived," the lawyer said. Marcus's laugh was bitter, a comforting sentence for fools. "It is also true. I signed every transfer. You trusted your wife. I stopped asking questions." Adisa did not deny it. The old lawyer looked toward the cottage, where warm light now glowed from a lamp someone had brought. "Your father once told me wealth makes men deaf, not because money blocks the ears, but because it surrounds them with people paid to speak softly." Marcus looked at him. Adisa continued, "You must decide whether you want to hear clearly now." Before Marcus could answer, Leela stepped out of the cottage. "She is asking for you," she said. Marcus entered. Evelyn sat on the mattress with a blanket around her shoulders. Her hair had been gently combed. The years of neglect had not vanished, but her dignity had begun to return, like a flame protected from wind. Marcus sat beside her. For a while, neither spoke. Then Evelyn said, "You are thinner." He almost cried at that. After everything, she noticed whether he had eaten well. "I am older," he said. "So am I." He smiled faintly. She reached for his hand. "Do not turn this into a story where you are only guilty and I am only wounded. Life is not so neat. You left because I told you to go. You trusted because I raised you to trust. But you also allowed success to become louder than love." He bowed his head. "I know. Do you?" "I want to." Evelyn studied him, then listen to Leela, listen to the staff, listen to people who cannot profit from flattering you. Marcus nodded. His mother leaned back, tired from the effort of standing, speaking, remembering. "And do not hate Vanessa so much that you become like her." That surprised him, after what she did. Justice is necessary, hatred is expensive. Marcus closed his eyes. "How can you say that?" "Because hatred kept me alive some days," she whispered, "and it was a bitter food. Leela brought me better." At the doorway, Leela looked away, embarrassed. Evelyn smiled at her. "Come here, child." Leela approached. Evelyn took her hand and placed it in Marcus. "This girl saved my life when my own blood did not know I needed saving. Do not insult her with charity only." Marcus looked at Leela. "What do you want?" Leela seemed startled. "Me?" "Yes, not what you need for tonight. What do you want for your life?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. People like Leela were rarely asked what they wanted. They were asked what they could do, how little they would accept, how quietly they could suffer. Finally she said, "I wanted to be a nurse." Marcus nodded. "Then you will be." Her eyes widened. "Sir, I did not mean." "I know what you meant, and I know what my family owes you, but my mother is right. It won't be charity. It will be a scholarship in your name, with a salary for the care work you have already done, and any choice you make after that will be yours." Leela's eyes filled. "Thank you." Evelyn squeezed her hand. "Do not thank too quickly. Rich people like making promises when they are emotional." Marcus looked at his mother, shocked. Then Evelyn gave him the smallest smile. It was the first true smile he had seen from her that day. That night, the Vale mansion changed owners without moving an inch. Vanessa had ruled it through fear disguised as elegance. She had arranged flowers no one could smell, hosted dinners where servants glided like ghosts, and filled rooms with art chosen not for beauty but for price. Every surface shone, every cushion matched. Every person inside knew where to stand, when to speak, and how to disappear. When Evelyn entered just after sunset, supported by Marcus and Leela, the staff gathered in the entrance hall. No one had ordered them to line up. They came because word had spread. The old mistress had returned. For a moment, Evelyn stood beneath the chandelier in borrowed slippers, wrapped in a simple shawl, her face pale from exhaustion. The grand staircase rose behind her, polished and cold. This was the house Vanessa had said Evelyn was too unstable to enter. This was the house funded by Evelyn's trust. Mrs. Tomer began to cry. Then one by one, the servants bowed their heads. Evelyn looked at them. "Lift your faces," she said softly. "No one bows tonight." They lifted their faces. Some looked ashamed, others afraid. A few had known enough to suspect and too little power to act. Marcus saw that now. Vanessa had not ruled alone. She had ruled through a system of silence, and Marcus's absence had been the roof over it. "I will not ask who failed me yet," Evelyn said. "Tonight I ask who will tell the truth." The hall remained silent. Then a young gardener stepped forward. "Madam, I saw Mrs. Vanessa's driver bring you to the old house at night." A cook raised her hand. "I was told never to send food there." A cleaner said, "Madam Vanessa kept your letters in a drawer." Mrs. Toma whispered, "I believed her when she said you dismissed us. I am sorry." Evelyn listened to each one. Marcus listened too. By midnight, Gideon had collected statements. Addisa had secured documents. A trusted doctor had examined Evelyn and confirmed what Marcus already knew. She needed rest, nutrition, proper treatment, and safety. Some confusion might remain. Some wounds would take time, but neglect had done much of the damage, and care could return much of what cruelty had stolen. Vanessa, meanwhile, left the mansion through the side entrance with 2 suitcases. No photographers captured it. No dramatic storm broke overhead. She simply walked past the fountain she had imported from Italy, past the rose garden she had forbidden servants to touch without gloves, past the gates where she once made guests wait until she was ready to receive them. Her personal driver was gone. The luxury cars were frozen under trust review. Her cards declined before she reached the main road. By dawn, Vanessa Vale, the woman who had slept beneath silk canopies and mocked a maid for poverty, sat in the lobby of a cheap hotel arguing with a manager who would not accept promises as payment. The news broke 2 days later. At first, Marcus tried to keep Evelyn's condition private, but Vanessa, desperate to control the story, leaked her own version. She told blogs and society pages that Marcus had been manipulated by an unstable mother and a scheming servant. She claimed he had thrown his loyal wife out over lies. She posed for one blurry photograph outside a hotel, looking wounded and elegant. It might have worked once, but this time Marcus did not hide. He called a press conference at the Vale Foundation building, the room filled with reporters expecting scandal. They got truth instead. Marcus stood before them in a dark suit without his usual armor of arrogance. Beside him sat Addisa, not Evelyn. Marcus refused to parade his mother's suffering for public sympathy. Leela remained private too, though her statement had been recorded for legal authorities. "My family has suffered a betrayal," Marcus said, "but before I speak of my wife's actions, I must speak of my own failure. For years, I allowed distance, wealth, and convenience to replace responsibility. I believed reports because believing them was easier than returning home. My mother paid the price." The reporters fell quiet. He continued, "Funds meant for her care were misused. Her communications were blocked. Legal documents were forged. These matters are now with the authorities. The Vale Trust will cooperate fully." A reporter shouted, "Are you divorcing Vanessa Vale?" Marcus paused, "Yes." Another called, "Is it true your mother was found in an abandoned house?" Marcus's jaw tightened. "It is true she was found in conditions no human being deserves." "Was a maid involved?" Marcus looked directly at the reporter. A young woman employed by the household showed more loyalty and courage than people with far greater power. Her privacy will be respected. By evening, the story had spread across the country. Some praised Marcus for honesty. Others condemned him for neglect. He accepted both. For the first time in years, he did not order his public relations team to polish the truth until it shone. He let it stand rough and painful. Vanessa's friends disappeared quickly. The same women who had filled her charity luncheons stopped answering calls. The businessmen who once kissed her cheek at galas instructed their assistants to say they were traveling. Her beauty remained, but beauty without access became less useful to people who worshipped doors more than faces. She tried to return to the mansion 3 times. The first time, security turned her away politely. The second time, she shouted at the gate until reporters arrived, then cried for their cameras. The third time, she came at dusk, without makeup, wearing sunglasses though the sun had nearly set. Marcus met her at the gate. For a moment, looking at her through the iron bars, he remembered the woman he married. Vanessa had not always seemed cruel, or perhaps he had not wanted to see it. She had been charming, ambitious, attentive. When his first American deal nearly collapsed, she stayed up all night on video calls, encouraging him. When investors mocked his accent behind closed doors, she told him to make them need him. When he felt lonely, she spoke of the future as if it belonged to them both. Maybe she had loved him once. Maybe she had loved what he could become. Maybe to Vanessa, there had never been a difference. "I have nowhere," she said. Marcus stood on the inside of the gate, hands in his coat pockets. "You have family. My sister won't take me. You have accounts under investigation. Your lawyers can petition for living expenses from whatever is legally yours." She laughed bitterly. "Legally mine, you made sure that is nothing." "No, you made sure." Her face hardened. "You enjoy this." "No." "Then help me." "I will not let you starve," Marcus said. "I will arrange temporary accommodation through your attorney until the court decides what funds are yours, but you will never enter this house again." Vanessa's eyes shone. "After 11 years. After what you did in those 11 years. She turned you against me." "No," Marcus said. "You showed me who you were." Vanessa gripped the bars. "And who are you, Marcus? The loving son? Please, you found her in that place because you left her there as much as I did." The words hurt because they were meant to, and because part of them was true. Marcus did not look away. "That is why I am staying." Vanessa's lips parted. "I am not running back to America," he said. "I am not leaving staff to raise alarms I ignore. I am not letting money become my apology." For the first time, Vanessa looked unsure what to say. Then Marcus added, "I hope one day you understand what you destroyed." She smiled without warmth. "I destroyed nothing, I only lost." "That is why you lost everything." He turned and walked back up the driveway. Behind him, Vanessa called his name once. He did not stop. Weeks passed. The abandoned cottage was cleaned, repaired, and transformed into a small community care center in Evelyn's name, not for publicity. Evelyn insisted it serve elderly people whose families had forgotten them. Workers injured with no pension, and widows who needed meals more than speeches. "Do not build me a statue," she told Marcus. "Build something with chairs and soup." So he did. The old family house was restored slowly. Evelyn did not want the mansion as her main home. Too many echoes of Vanessa's rule lingered there. She preferred the old veranda, the mango trees, the chapel bell in the distance, and the garden she planned to replant herself, even if she could only supervise from a chair. Marcus moved his office into the old library. Gideon nearly fainted when he heard, "Sir, the internet wiring alone will be a nightmare." "Then wake the electricians," Marcus said. He began each morning with Evelyn. Some days she was sharp, teasing him about his expensive shoes sinking into garden mud. Other days she drifted, asking whether his father had returned from town or worrying that young Marcus had not finished his homework. On those days, Marcus learned not to argue with grief or memory. He sat beside her, answered gently, and waited for the present to return. Sometimes it did. Sometimes it did not. Love, he discovered, was not proven only in dramatic rescues. It was proven in repetition, in showing up after the first apology, in learning medication schedules, in noticing when soup was too salty, in hearing the same story 5 times and responding as if it still mattered, because to Evelyn, in that moment, it did. Leela began nursing school 3 months later. On her first day, Marcus offered to send a car. She refused. "I can take the bus," she said. Marcus looked offended. "The bus?" Evelyn laughed from her chair. "Leave the girl alone. You think everyone needs leather seats to reach destiny." Leela smiled. "I want to arrive like the other students." So Marcus backed off, though he secretly instructed Gideon to ensure her tuition, books, uniforms, housing, meals, and emergency expenses were covered without making her feel watched. Evelyn found out within a week. "You are hovering," she told him. "I am assisting." "You are hovering with invoices." He looked sheepish. Leela, for her part, changed, but did not become someone else. She still visited Evelyn every weekend. She still brought food, though now from proper markets instead of leftovers saved in secret. She still called her Mama Evelyn, and Evelyn still pretended not to glow every time she heard it. The staff changed too. Some were dismissed after the investigation proved they had actively helped Vanessa. Others remained after confessing what they knew and accepting new rules. Marcus raised wages, created anonymous reporting channels, and required all household accounts to be reviewed by independent auditors. Evelyn added her own rule: every staff member could eat from the main kitchen. Vanessa had forbidden it. Evelyn called it nonsense with silver plates. The legal case moved slowly, as legal cases often do when rich people are involved. Vanessa hired aggressive lawyers and denied everything, but documents spoke. Bank transfers spoke, forged signatures spoke. So did the hidden recordings Evelyn had made on days when her mind cleared. One recording hurt Marcus more than all the others. It was Evelyn's voice, weak but determined. "My son, if you hear this, I did not abandon you. I did not stop loving you. Something is wrong in this house. Vanessa says you are busy. Maybe you are, but if there is still a place in your heart where I live, come home." Marcus listened to it alone, in the library. Then he listened again. Then he wept in a way he had not allowed himself to weep since his father's funeral. Evelyn found him there. She did not rush to comfort him. She simply sat beside him, old bones lowering carefully into the leather chair. "I was angry when I made that recording," she said. "You should have been. I wanted to curse you. You should have." She smiled faintly. "I did a little, then I erased that part." Despite himself, Marcus laughed through tears. Evelyn looked toward the window, where evening light spilled over the garden. "Your father made mistakes with money. You made mistakes with absence. I made mistakes with pride. You." Yes, I did not want to look weak. When Vanessa first began controlling things, I thought I could handle her. I thought asking for help meant surrender. Pride is a locked room, Marcus. Sometimes we sit inside and blame others for not opening the door. Marcus wiped his face. "You are trying to reduce my guilt." "No, I am teaching you what to do with it." "What should I do?" "Turn it into protection for someone else." That became the real beginning of the Veil Foundation's new work. Not glamorous galas, not ribbon cuttings with champagne, practical things: legal aid for elders, caregiver checks, hotlines for domestic staff, emergency housing for abandoned parents, scholarships for workers' children, clinics that could not be bought by wealthy relatives seeking convenient diagnoses. Reporters called it redemption. Marcus disliked the word. Redemption sounded too clean, too finished. He preferred repair. Repair admitted that something had broken and might always show the seam. 6 months after his return, the old Vale house held its first family dinner. Not a gala. Evelyn hated galas now. "Too many people pretending not to be hungry," she said. Instead, there was a long wooden table on the veranda. Mrs. Toma cooked jollof rice, pepper stew, grilled fish, fried plantains, and coconut cake. The gardeners hung lanterns from the mango branches. Staff ate with family because Evelyn insisted, and because Marcus had learned not to argue once his mother used that tone. Leela came in her nursing student uniform, proud and shy. Addisa came with his wife. Gideon came with 2 phones and was ordered by Evelyn to put both away or eat outside. Everyone laughed. Halfway through dinner, Evelyn tapped her glass. The table quieted. "I have an announcement," she said. Marcus tensed. "Mother, you should have told me if this was formal." "It is my table. I decide formality." "Yes, ma'am." Maury laughter. Evelyn looked down the table at the faces glowing in lantern light. "For years, I believed family was blood, name, inheritance. Then blood went across the ocean, name was used to steal, and inheritance became bait for wolves." The table fell still. "Do not look so frightened," she said. "I am old. Old women must speak in storms sometimes." She turned to Leela. Child, stand. Leela blinked. Me. Yes, you, unless there is another child here who fed me soup while being insulted by snakes. Leela stood slowly, cheeks burning. Evelyn reached for a folder beside her plate. Marcus recognized Addis's ribbon around it. Leela Mensa, Evelyn said, your mother once worked in my home. She was honest when honesty cost her. You have her spirit. You gave me food when my own cupboards were locked. You gave me respect when my name had been buried. I cannot repay kindness, because true kindness is not a debt, but I can honor it. Leela looked terrified. Mama Evelyn. Hush, I am not finished. Addis smiled into his napkin. Evelyn continued, I have created an education trust for you, fully funded through your nursing degree and any advanced training you choose. I have also placed a small house in your name, near the college, so no one can threaten your shelter again. Leela's hands flew to her mouth. Marcus smiled, already aware of this part. Then Evelyn turned to him, and Marcus has agreed. Marcus nodded, gladly. Leela shook her head, tears spilling. It is too much. Evelyn's expression softened. No, child, what Vanessa did was too much. This is enough. Leela sat down crying, and Mrs. Toma wrapped her in an embrace. Evelyn was not done. She looked at Marcus. Stand. He obeyed, suddenly nervous. My son came home late, she said. Marcus lowered his eyes. But he came home, he listened when truth was ugly, he did not hide from shame, he chose repair over image, for that I bless him again. His throat tightened. Evelyn lifted her glass, to houses rebuilt, to truth spoken, to soup shared, and to never again mistaking wealth for care. The table echoed her toast. Never again. From the edge of the veranda, the old mango tree dropped one ripe fruit into the grass. Evelyn heard it and smiled. My son came when the mangoes fell, she whispered. Marcus knelt beside her chair and took her hand. Yes, he said, and I am not leaving again. A year later, Vanessa stood before a judge in a plain navy dress, far from the silk and diamonds that had once announced her before she spoke. The courtroom was crowded but quiet. Her lawyers had negotiated, argued, delayed, and objected, but the evidence remained heavy. She pleaded guilty to several financial crimes in exchange for reduced charges. The court ordered restitution from any recoverable assets. Her social empire was gone. The friends who once drank her champagne watched clips of the hearing online and sent each other shocked messages, as if they had not applauded her cruelty when it wore designer clothes. Marcus attended only one day. Not to gloat, not to forgive, to witness. Vanessa saw him as she was led from the courtroom after sentencing. For a second, their eyes met. He expected anger, he expected pleading. Instead, she looked tired. Marcus, she said softly. The officer paused. Vanessa swallowed. Is she well? He did not need to ask who. She has good days and hard days, he said, but she is safe. Vanessa nodded, and something like regret passed across her face. It was too late to save her, but perhaps not too late for her to finally see herself without mirrors. I thought if I controlled everything, nothing could make me small again, she whispered. Marcus said nothing. She gave a broken smile. I became smaller than everyone. Then she was led away. Marcus stood in the hallway long after she disappeared. He felt no victory, only the strange quiet that comes when a storm has passed and leaves behind all the work of rebuilding. When he returned home, Evelyn was in the garden directing Leela on where to plant basil. Not there, Evelyn said. Basil likes morning sun. Leela, now more confident after a year of nursing school, placed one hand on her hip. Mama Evelyn, last week you told me afternoon sun. I was testing you. You were guessing. Evelyn sniffed. Nurses are becoming disrespectful. Marcus laughed from the path. Evelyn turned. How was caught? He approached slowly. It is done. She studied his face. And your heart. Still learning. That is better than pretending. He sat beside her. For a while, they watched Leela plant basil in the place she chose herself. Then Evelyn said, "Did she ask about me?" "Yes." "What did you say?" "That you are safe." Evelyn nodded. "Good. Do you hate her?" His mother was quiet for a long time. "No," she said at last, "but I will never open my door to her again." Marcus understood. Some forgiveness was not an invitation, some mercy still locked the gate. The sun lowered over the restored garden. Children's voices drifted from the new care center beyond the old cottage. Every Friday, local volunteers brought meals there. Every Saturday, Evelyn insisted Marcus help serve, even when board members visited and looked alarmed to see a billionaire carrying soup bowls. "Especially then." "Let them see your hands work," Evelyn said. "It will frighten the lazy ones." Marcus had changed in ways the business magazines struggled to describe. They wrote articles about his new humility and reputation recovery. They analyzed the foundation, the restructuring of the trust, the divorce settlement, and the effect on stock value. They searched for a neat headline. But life inside the old Vale house was not neat. Some mornings, Evelyn forgot Vanessa was gone and became afraid. Some nights, Marcus woke from dreams of the cottage and had to walk through the house checking locks. Sometimes Leela cried from exhaustion, balancing school, work, and memories of hunger she had not fully escaped. Sometimes staff whispered about the past. Sometimes the repaired walls still smelled of damp after rain. But there was food. There was truth. There was laughter that did not need permission. And there was a blue bowl. Evelyn kept it on a shelf in the dining room, the same chipped bowl Leela had carried to the cottage. Marcus once offered to replace it with something finer. Evelyn looked at him as though he had suggested burning the house down. "That bowl is finer than anything Vanessa bought," she said. So it remained. Years later, when people told the story, they loved the dramatic parts most. The billionaire returning from America, the abandoned house, the cruel wife humiliated by her own lies, the poor maid revealed as the true loyal heart, the old mother rising from the shadows to reclaim the fortune. They loved saying Vanessa was left homeless. But Marcus knew the deeper truth. Vanessa had been homeless long before she lost the mansion. She had built her life in rooms where love could not live. She had decorated emptiness and called it power. She had mistaken possession for belonging, obedience for respect, fear for loyalty. And Evelyn, even in a broken cottage, had never been as poor as Vanessa became in that silk dress, standing in the mud, realizing every door she had slammed on others was now closed to her. One evening, after Leela graduated as a nurse, the family gathered again beneath the mango tree. This time, Evelyn walked with a cane instead of being carried. Marcus stayed close, but did not hover. Leela wore a white dress under her graduation gown, laughing as Mrs. Toma fussed over her collar. Adisa, older but still sharp, raised a toast. "To Nurse Leela Mensa," he said, "who proved that one bowl of food can defeat a mansion full of lies." Everyone cheered. Leela wiped tears from her cheeks. "I only did what anyone should do." Evelyn took her hand. "That is why it mattered. Many people know what they should do, few do it when it costs them." Marcus looked around the table, at his mother, at Leela, at the staff who had become brave enough to speak, at the old house glowing in the warm evening. He thought of America, of glass towers and applause, of all the years he believed success was measured by how far he could rise. Now he knew some victories required coming down. Down from the jet. Down from the hilltop mansion. Down onto his knees in a ruined cottage, before a mother he had almost lost. Evelyn caught him staring and smiled. "What are you thinking, my son?" Marcus leaned back as the first drops of rain began to fall, soft and fragrant over the garden. I am thinking, he said, that heaven remembered us. Evelyn lifted her face to the rain. No, she said gently, we remembered each other. And under the mango tree, with the restored house behind them and the blue bowl shining on the dining room shelf, Marcus finally understood that the greatest inheritance his mother had protected was never the mansion, the fortune, or the family name. It was the truth. And once truth had a home again, no cruelty could throw it out.